it's really important for us to hone our skills as humans as well and make sure that we're really feeding it the right information. So when you're using this framework, you're going to use it in one of two main places. One is into something like ChatGPT. So that could be like Magi, like our friend Dustin put together this amazing tool called Magi. It could be in Gemini, it could be in Claude. But one thing that's really cool with ChatGPT is that you can use this voice framework to create your own custom GPTs.
Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Molly Mahoney. If you don't know who Molly is, you got to know who she is. She's the author of multiple books, including Performance Power and the children's book, Finding My Awesome. Her forthcoming book is called Choose Confidence. She's also the founder of the AI Content Club, a membership that helps coaches, course creators, and creative entrepreneurs use AI in their content to generate qualified leads. Lots of C's there, Molly. Her podcast is called Authentically Awesome, and she is authentically awesome. Molly, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I'm so good. I love alliteration. It's Molly Marie Mahoney. We have to go with all the alliteration all the time.
That is so cool. Well, today, Molly and I are going to explore how to get AI to model your unique voice. But before we go there, Molly, how'd you get into artificial intelligence? Like, tell us a little bit of the story. Start wherever you want to start.
Yeah, totally. So we've been teaching AI since 2021. So I know there are people like Paul and others who have been for years and years and years, but in our space, 2021 was really pretty early to get into all of the craziness, the magic that we're doing now. So I actually started as a singing teacher. So my first time attending social media marketing world, I was looking to build my business as a vocal coach. I was a professional musical theater performer before that. And after touring with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on the road,
Wow.
I know, pretty fun, right? It was an awesome adventure. I lived in New York, performed, sang, danced, all of that, and decided to teach other singers how to build a career like I had. And in 2016, when Facebook Live came out, I had this big epiphany. Rather than teaching performers how to have a business, I started teaching business owners how to perform. And it was a really good shift. Right?
It was a great shift, and you were hot. I mean, for the folks that don't know, when live video popped, Molly was one of the people that everybody looked to understand how to actually confidently communicate, because it's scary when you're live.
Yeah. And it was a really big learning moment for me to jump on something that new with Facebook Live, because there were people like Kim, focused on Periscope, Kim Garst, and you had been doing all of the things, the blabs and the whatever, all the other live things. But I had a really cool opportunity to be one of the first to totally dive in on Facebook Live, and it worked really well for us. So we launched a program called Camera Confidence, and then when Messenger bots came out, I decided to do the same thing with Messenger bots. So we went all in on connecting Messenger bots to our live videos. And that was really awesome, because both of those decisions allowed me to have great relationships with the tools in our space, like BeLive. They had me as their brand ambassador for a really long time. Awesome. I love the team there. Same thing with ManyChat. ManyChat actually had me speak on their behalf at so many events. And the thing that we really learned was when I could combine the fun, performer, quote unquote, side of who I really was with these tech tools to make it easier for people to understand, it was an awesome place to be in. And so when I learned about AI through Jasper, which was at the time called Conversion.ai, and also Jarvis, that AI tool, when I learned about it, I really went all in teaching people about that. And that's when we first launched the Content Club. And it was such an awesome way to show people how they could make their content creation easier. And it became really fun.
Well, and for folks that don't know, Jasper, the best way I can describe Jasper is it was one of the first tools designed specifically for the marketing community, and I think for entrepreneurs, where you could use it to do very simple writing tasks. And now, of course, it feels like there's so many other amazing tools. But a lot of people were using it, and it was one of the early opportunities. And back then it was powered by very early versions of ChatGPT. So Molly, what I'd love to know is kind of like bring us up to the last year and a half since ChatGPT came out. Like, what have you been focusing on specifically on the AI frontier?
Yeah. So when ChatGPT came out, I will be very honest with you, I had maybe a week or a 2-week pout session, because I was like, oh, we've been doing this for 2 years. Like, now everybody thinks they're doing it. And I remember very specifically having I was on a walk with my husband and really pouting about it, which is not like me. And then I realized, Mahoney, what are you doing? Go all in. This is such an amazing opportunity. So then after my little pout session, I realized, wait a minute, there is so much opportunity here. So we really went all in and stayed focused in that content creation space. We do, teach some things about SOPs and other ways you can use AI in your business. But now we've expanded to go way beyond the written form. We're doing a lot with AI avatars, like with tools like HeyGen. I actually have a whole secret podcast that's all AI generated with AI voice. We hosted an event here. We host these pretend cruises for our clients. They're implementation events. And so we did a whole AI podcast pretend cruise. I've been speaking all over the world about it. It's been really cool. And the big thing that we really focus on is helping people to know who they are as human beings and weaving that into the AI, because there's so many opportunities for us to just create zombie junk. So we help people to avoid that.
I love what you're doing, Molly. And what's exciting as everyone, is listening to this podcast, they're hearing from people that they may be familiar with in the world of marketing, or they may be familiar with in the world of content, that are kind of expanding their umbrella to bring their unique angle to the world of artificial intelligence. And I think we're going to see a lot more people, as this kind of new space evolves, bring their unique gifts to the table, because AI is a craft. It's a tool, just like singing is a tool, just like performing. I mean, not a tool, just like it's an art form. That's the best way of saying it. It's an art form, right? And just like, not everybody can dance, not everybody can sing, not everybody can perform. And there's all various levels of it. Not everyone's going to be able to fully understand how to take advantage of artificial intelligence. And this is what we're here to talk about today, which is specifically how to basically get the AI to sound like you. Right? So
Yeah.
why is the concept of brand voice, Molly, so important when it comes to AI?
Well, since everything that happened with Jasper, right? When Jasper first was created, it was one of the only tools that were out there. But since then, there are actual bajillions of AI tools. I mean, they are everywhere. And not only are there loads of tools, it is woven into every aspect of what we're doing. So, my brother, who is a chainsaw carver and sells wood slabs, he's an artist in his own right. He said to me, yeah, I'm using AI all the time. It's integrated inside my email account. Like, people are literally using it all the time. That's amazing. However, if you are simply following a basic prompt, or you're using a tool that has a framework that it has to it, and you don't take the time to figure out your unique differentiator, who you are and who you're speaking to, who your ideal client is. The problem is the internet is getting so filled with noise. There is so much opportunity to create content right now that it's just like actual zombies everywhere. And there's no reason for people to even stop the scroll. There's no reason for people to be like, oh, that's who I connect with. And I don't know if you saw back in March, Vogue Business put out this big report about Gen Z and millennial marketers. Did you see this?
Tell me more.
Okay. I am obsessed with it. They said that Gen Z has destroyed the marketing funnel. And what they found is people don't want to go through a typical awareness, funnel from awareness to purchase. What they want to do is they want to be in this loop where they're experiencing community, and they get to explore, and they get to develop loyalty and like all of these connections to a brand. So whether or not you're actually the face of the brand, even if it's some sort of fictitious character that you create, you have to create that connection. Otherwise, we're actually going to be in major trouble as human beings and as businesses.
I love what you said, and I'll add some of my own thoughts as to why I think what we're about to talk about here is so important. The ability to generate content has just become effortless for almost anyone. Therefore, everyone has to up their game, because now people that were poor communicators are good communicators if they use these tools. And people that are good communicators can become great communicators if they properly use these tools. And people that are great communicators become exceptional communicators. And that is so important when we're talking about trying to stand out, right?
Yeah.
But the flip side of it is, it's so easy to generate content that people like me and you, Molly, and everyone who's listening, they're starting to recognize this generative content. They notice the patterns. It's very repetitive. It doesn't sound like the normal email I would get from that person, or it feels a little off or a little scripted. While it's true these things are improving, it's also true that these things can be trained, right, Molly? These things can be trained to sound exactly like whoever is listening to this podcast. And that's the upside. Once you can get these things to sound exactly like Michael Stelzner or Molly Mahoney, with all of our quirks and idiosyncrasies, that's when the magic unlocks, right?
Yeah. And it's just going to keep getting better and better, right? I hear people say this is the worst it will ever be. And around the time of creating this podcast, there's been a huge update with ChatGPT. I'm sure by the time you're listening to this podcast, there's going to be 50 more huge updates.
Right.
And it's getting easier and easier to get better and better at it. But if you don't develop the skill set, the artist, like you said, it really is an art. If you don't take the time to develop that, as the tools progress, it's not going to work anymore. So it's really important for us to hone our skills as humans as well and make sure that we're really feeding it the right information, which we're going to talk about today, but then also how you look at it with an eye, an editor's eye. And we like to say that you judge your AI content, right? That you come back and give it that last little bit of sparkle as a human. Otherwise, it's really just, it's becoming white noise that people don't listen to anymore.
Okay. So Molly has developed a really cool framework that we're going to talk about, which is called VOICE. And each of those letters is an acronym, and we're going to go through them one at a time. So let's start with the first letter in this framework. What is it, and what do we need to know about it?
Okay, the first letter is kind of a surprise. It's the VOICE framework, and the first letter is a V, which is voice. So
very creative. Keep going. I love it. It's hard probably to come up with a better V than that. There's not that many V letters.
I mean,
words,
it's
right?
true.
Yeah.
So when you're using this framework, you're going to use it in one of two main places. One is into something like ChatGPT. So that could be like Magi, like our friend Dustin put together this amazing tool called Magi. It could be in Gemini. It could be in Claude. But one thing that's really cool with ChatGPT is that you can use this voice framework to create your own custom GPTs. So when you create a prompt or a custom GPT, this is the thing you want to make sure that it's seasoned with this information. So the V is the voice. And this is one of the most important pieces. So we want to make sure that we cover the following pieces inside of this voice, which is where we're setting the personality, the tone, the language style, the themes, the communication style. And then I also like to add in something that we've talked about before, which is your quesadilla of awesome. So the quesadilla of awesome is really how you identify what makes you a unique human, what makes you weird. I like to say that your weird is your superpower these days because we have so much ability to create content. If you don't know what makes you different, what makes you weird, which is wonderful, then we're not going to be able to communicate this clearly.
Okay, so the first letter in the acronym is V, and it's voice. And you said it's about personality and your language style and stuff. So give us an example. Like, what is help people wrap their brain around this.
Okay, so I'm going to read actually what mine is. And the way that you can do this is either you can literally sit here and write with your own brain and your own hands, your own human intelligence, the answers to these following little pieces here. Or you can take a lot of content that you've already written and feed it into the AI. We'll come back to that in a minute, but I'll give you the example of like what mine is. Is that cool?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this is top secret information. So you're getting really secret information.
Nice.
So my brand personality is empathetic, approachable. It is relatable, and it blends personal experiences with professional insights. It's creating a friendly and supportive atmosphere. So that's the brand personality. That's what we're looking to create for our community. I love it. Resonates really well with me.
Now, okay, real quick, how did you come up with that? Did you ask people to describe how you communicate, or what did you do?
So I did something really wild, and as you know, I use my Facebook personal profile for a lot of written content. So even though I teach about video and I've been a performer forever, I've actually really found that I love doing long form written content. So I have documented every piece of content that I've written on my personal Facebook profile on Facebook since 2018.
Wow.
I have it all in a spreadsheet. I have it identified by business or personal. And then I also have how many likes and how many comments I got on each post.
But when you looked at that, did you just try to look for thread themes in the way
No,
you were
then
creating
I
content?
loaded that in. So I actually loaded it all into Claude. So at the time when I first did
Ah,
this, it was too much text to put into ChatGPT. Now, if you have the paid version now, it may actually work in ChatGPT, but I loaded and in Claude, it actually let me load the spreadsheet. What was fascinating to me is my mom passed away last June and I was revamping this after that. And one of the posts, because I didn't do any editing of the posts. I just loaded everything in there. And one of the posts that it mentioned, so I knew it actually went through the content. It said your community's response to the loss of your mother means that you've created a community that really cares about you as a human being. And I was like, even AI knows how awesome
so
our
wait,
community
just
is.
so we're clear, you put a spreadsheet in there with links to Facebook and it's somehow new to go, or was it all the
No,
content?
we copy and paste every bit of text into this sheet. So at
Ah,
one point I hired a VA to go in and grab past posts, but now it's a weekly task for our team that they copy my personal profile posts into a spreadsheet.
okay. So this is the first lesson, everybody. You could take some of your content, what Molly is saying, and you could drop it into Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you're using, and you could ask it to basically describe your personality. Is that what you asked it to do?
Yeah, so I actually asked for these following categories. I said, give me, and I'm going to read it to you because this part's not an acronym. I said, give it brand personality, tone, language style, themes and messages, and communication style. So I have a whole list of all those. It
Got it.
identified all of those for me.
Okay, so and then you probably went through and you picked the ones that you felt like were most accurate, right? Or did you just copy and paste literally right out
Oh,
of there?
oh no. I judged it to make sure that it was okay, but for the most part, it's
Yeah.
right on. Like for tone, it says the tone is conversational and uplifting with a touch of humor. It's clear that you aim to inspire and motivate your audience, often using personal anecdotes and establish a genuine connection.
Mm. What about themes?
Themes. Your messages often revolve around personal growth, overcoming challenges, and embracing new technologies like AI and automation. Huh. There's a strong focus on the transformative power of coaching and learning.
Okay, so basically what I'm hearing you say is we're taking our personality, and if you don't have all this content, you could ask someone else, how would you describe my personality, right? And tone, describe tone to people that may not understand what tone means,
Yeah.
like in your own words.
Yeah. And this is one that I do actually adjust a little bit because I want to make sure that it's not too hyperbolic or too over the top. And I know, like, we were joking about this right before getting on. Uh, Mike said to me, "Oh, you look so surprised." And I said, "No, I'm just excited." Like, I know that I show up with a very like over the top thing. And when I put that into AI, it makes me even more over the top than I actually am,
I see. Yeah.
which can be a problem. So I have had to test this by putting it into the AI tools and then being like, whoa, I would like you to tone it down a little bit. How can I do that? So that's important. But for me, I'll read you what I have here and then we can talk about it a little bit more. So my tone says the tone is conversational and uplifting with a touch of humor, right? So it's clear that you inspire and motivate your audience. So it's really like, when you're speaking to someone, there's some people who have more of a sarcastic tone. There's some people who are more direct and right to the point. For us, we're really conversational, we're playful. But when I said playful, then it got kooky. So I had to pull it back a little bit.
So if I was to free flow a little bit on myself here for my voice, I would probably say professional. You know, I mean, like I'm just free flowing a little bit. I would say respectful, in the way that I communicate.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know what else I would say. I mean, this is hard for someone to dissect their own selves, but I might say like I tell stories, like I tend to tell a lot of stories in my communication, especially in my written communication. They tend to be stories that people can relate to that happen to be marketers, entrepreneurs, and creators. And my communication style is casual. So
And I
maybe
think it's
that's
also
enough.
very clear. Like you're clear and direct. You're not you're storytelling, but it's very comprehensible, if that makes sense. This is why we love reading your content, right?
Right. So this is what we do. We come up with this. We try to describe this. And why is this so important? Just help everybody understand why this part of this is so important.
Because this is where, if you're going to pass this on to a team member, if you're going to develop a system or an automation with this is the foundation to make everything else resonate with your community. We had a client just this morning, actually, who has a wholesale crystal shop, And there are so many different ways you could take the tone of a wholesale crystal shop. She has recently decided that she's really going to position the earthiness of it. And so she did a whole photo shoot out in the mud, and she's talking all about pulling away the mud and finding the gem within. But she's really raw and direct and to the point, which is very different than what we used to be writing for her. So we actually did this whole exercise with her on the call to make sure that our team, obviously we have a lot of social media managers in this community. So when you're doing this for clients, to help your team pull this out. And I really want to highlight what you said about how tricky and difficult it can be to do it for yourself. Years ago, I did this exercise with Jeff Walker also, because we were helping him to be able to put together a full product launch formula launch on Facebook. But I needed to know more about who Jeff was as a human. So there's one final piece that we add into this, which I can share, where we help you to identify what are the things that make you quirky and different and weird. And that all goes into your voice as well.
So okay, I love this.
Yeah.
And the other side of this, of course, bringing it into the AI world, is that the AI needs to know how it's going to, generative AI, if we're using AI to essentially create content that sounds like us, this is critical. I mean, this is the key, the magic sauce, if you will, right? To ultimately training the AI so that when it does output something that you hope will require minor edits, that it does it in a way that sounds just like you. Right?
Yeah. And then you can test it by saying, write in the style of Michael Stelzner. You have a lot of content on the internet, so it's probably going to be able to do that just with your name. I love to say, write in the style that's a combination between Perry Belcher and Brene Brown. If we found those two, they're so different, but I really love Perry's rogue tech, way that he is. Those of you that know Perry Belcher, he's kind of irreverent. I'm not going to be as crass as he may be. So I combine that with Brene Brown, who's going to be more empathetic and loving. When you get the two of those combined, that's kind of cool.
Okay, so the V in this acronym is voice. What is the next letter and what does it stand for?
Okay, so the next letter here is the O. And this is something that's really important for you to really hone in on, because most people skip this and then they're mad when their content doesn't work. The O is the objective. So what do you actually want to happen as a result of this? So this could be something like, you want to make sales as a result of this post. You want to get masterclass registrations or webinar registrations. You want people to follow or subscribe your channel or your account. You want to build your community. And an example is, you guys have started doing, for the past couple of years now, you've started doing these awesome engagement questions, right? You do them frequently on the Social Media Examiner accounts. That would be the objective. The objective is to get people to comment below or to have, start a conversation.
Right. I love that. Okay. Yeah. So is it that simple? I mean, and by the way, it sounds like our objective is going to be different every single time we use this acronym, right? So just to kind of help people wrap their brains around this is not a one and done situation, right? Because today you want sales, tomorrow you want engagement, the next day you want podcast subscribers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so this is actually where it can be really cool. And I go back to my BFA in theater and dance from Chapman University. And when you're working as an actor, you have, for the whole play or the whole musical or the whole movie, the whole script, there's something called a super objective. So that will be your overarching objective. So when I'm writing something, I have a custom GPT that's just my own personal GPT, and only my team uses it. It has a super objective of writing marketing focused content, right? To build a community and lead to sales. But then I have another prompt within that GPT for writing a week's worth of content. That is going to be a sub objective, which is we're going to write a weekly content plan. And then underneath that, each day, we can get into this in a little bit, but each day has its own objective. So Monday's objective is to create engagement. Tuesday's objective is to blah, blah, blah. There's going to be different objectives underneath it. So it can be a really layered approach, which is super cool.
It sounds to me, though, as if at a high level, we should start with a super objective, right? So everybody has a super objective. And I love what you said about build a community that leads to sales. I mean, if that's very clear, right? And, and the AI is going to understand what that actually means, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got V as voice, O as objective. What is the third letter and what does it stand for?
Okay. The I is for the insights. And so this is something that I actually have across the board for my whole company. We have a company details sheet. It includes our offer, the features and benefits for each offer. And it's not, it does, when I'm using this, I don't only usually have one offer. I usually have all of my offers that I'll put in there. Like, this is what we do as a whole company. Features and benefits of those offers, pain points of our ideal clients. We call them tickle points of our ideal clients. So like what makes them laugh, what they still need, like the different things, our brand, our bio, and our how we use it. This is like how we actually put together the insights is more about the actual company or the event or the organization or, you know, the entity that's actually going to be using this AI feature.
Okay, so I think what I hear you say is that insights is going to be a heck of a lot of information that we're going to be giving the AI system. Is that right? I mean, it sounds like not everybody might have all this, right? Because not every marketer is sophisticated as Molly Mahoney, or not every person listening is a marketer, right? So,
yeah. So if you're doing this like as a parent, let's say we have a client who teaches this for other parents to help prepare for their IEPs with their kids. So if their kids have, I don't know if we can explain what an IEP is, but it's like a learning path for your child at school if they have different needs as a student.
Okay.
And so with this, sometimes it's a really stressful situation when parents go into this meeting. So she's created all these AI tools to help them with that. So the insights that you would share may be that, you know, I'm dyslexic. So it may be like that this my child is dyslexic. That's going to be different than the brand tone. And what I'm doing as a parent, the insights would be about my child, right? So it's really just like any other data points, just like you would do if you were onboarding a new team member.
So this is really fascinating because there's so many things that I think everyone who's listening has created or has, like if you're, you know, an entrepreneur or a marketer, which is I think so many of us are, we've probably created these internal documents that have like, who is our target audience, right? Or your ideal avatar, as you might describe it, right? And what is it that is our unique value proposition, right? And what are the advantages to this ideal client if they were to purchase our products and services? My guess is that this data exists in multiple different locations. In this particular case, are we simply just like throwing it all into like a big Google Doc and basically throwing that into the AI system as part of this? Is that kind of where we're going with all this?
Yeah. So if you're doing this as your, you know, super prompt, we'll call it, right? As your super objective, that is, we put this as a custom GPT for anything that we're writing. You can literally just we have a document that we've created. And what I found is, even though it's a common practice, it's not commonly practiced. A lot of people don't actually have this information as well documented as they could. So I have loved how AI has forced our clients to actually do this step. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Let's talk about how we could use AI to actually come up with this stuff. Maybe. Yeah. Talk to me about that.
So sometimes when people first start, I'll say, you know what, let's just take your website. Or I'll just say, hey, do you know Social Media Examiner? And see what happens, right? That'll give you a good audit right away. And then we have
the AI. You're specifically asking the AI if it knows who we are, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. I'll ask ChatGPT. I'll say like, oh, are you familiar with
Brand X? Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Or I'll take a website and put it in. And then we have a Google Doc that we fill out with the specific questions for all of these insights. And I'll copy and paste that and say, great, answer these questions based on the info you know.
Yeah. And just so people, because a lot of people listening to this are beginners with AI tools, they may not realize that you can put a link in a lot of these tools. You can literally just give them a link to a sales page, for example, right?
Yeah.
And you can say, analyze this sales page and tell me what the pain points and the benefits are, right? And
exactly.
Then it'll pop it out for you, right?
And then read it and edit it, right? But it's a really good starting off point. And a little trick, if for some reason the internet's being a little weird and it's not actually reading the site, or maybe the site has some sort of block on it, you can just copy the text, like Control A, whatever it is, copy all of the text off the page. Don't worry about editing any of it. If it says like trademark, whatever, little weird things, just slap it all in there. And it has that data now, and then ask it questions based on that data.
Why? I'm going to keep asking why here, just so people can wrap their head around it, right? I think I understand why we have to have a voice. That makes total sense to me because you want it to sound like you.
Yeah.
And I think I also understand the importance of having an objective. But talk to me about this insight side of it and why this is so important.
Okay, two things. One is for this custom GPT that I've built for myself, all I have to do now is say, hey, I'd like a weekly, we do call it the super prompt actually. So I'd say, I'd like you to run the super prompt leading people to our content club. It already has all the information about who my ideal client is, about what the content club offers. Oftentimes I see people say like, write a sales email for a coaching program, and then they're mad that the email is junk. Well, the email is junk because you didn't give it the proper information.
So many of the guests, people are starting to hear a common theme here. So many of the guests that I've had on this show have said, you have to treat the AI as if it's like a human.
Yes.
And if you were to hire someone, you would give them this information and ask them to read it, correct?
Yeah, you would do, well, you would actually have an onboarding process where you would give them like a week at least to review things, right? When you work as a waiter at a restaurant, you shadow someone, right? It's like, now we've gotten into the habit of thinking it's going to be able to read our minds, which it almost can do. But really, if you treat it like a human and check in, give it the information and say, do you have enough info to proceed?
Okay, so we're about halfway through the acronym VOICE, and we're about to get into the C. But before we get into the C, I know that people are begging me to ask this question of you. They are saying, you've been talking about custom GPT for a little while here,
Okay.
and I've heard people talk about that. Explain to them what that is.
Okay. So within ChatGPT, you can actually basically create your own AI tool. It's an AI tool that is seasoned with whatever you want it to be seasoned with. It can have formulas in it. It can work for math. It can work for drawing. It can work for writing graphs. You can tell it to do pretty much anything that it can do with language and image creation. And then you can have multiple of them. So you have, like when I go in, I can start with talking to Molly. So I do @Molly, and that'll be my custom GPT in my voice. I'll ask it to do something, and then I'll say, great. Now, Felicia, so Felicia is one of our clients. I'll tag @Felicia, and it will write things in her voice. Then I can go back to Charmaine, who is the one that I talked about with the IEPs. She has a company called Vision and Voices, or the Art of Advocacy is what it is actually, the Art of Advocacy. I can say, Charmaine, based on what you've seen above, how would you actually communicate this to a school board to stand up for kids? Like they can have a full conversation inside one chat.
Okay, this is blowing people's minds, and we're going to just dig a little bit deeper here. I have not created one of these yet, but I understand that they are free.
And that's new, actually. So it used to be that you could only access it with a paid account, but now anyone can access them. So they work as amazing lead magnets as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, when I said free, I meant they don't charge any extra, but it's important to know that it's true that, right? I didn't know. Yeah. I mean, like I have a paid version of ChatGPT and there's no extra fee.
Correct.
This might be a paid only thing, which is like inexpensive, but is it free now is what you're saying?
So that's a good qualification too. So it is, you do have to have a paid account at this exact moment. You have to have a paid account to create them. It used to be that you had to have a paid account to use them. But at this point, you can look up Molly Mahoney on ChatGPT and you'll find I have like 15 different GPTs that you can use that I've created for other people to use.
Okay, that's really useful. The other side of the equation is my understanding, because I did kind of mess with it a little bit, is when you first set these up, you just give it a bunch of information that kind of serves as its database almost, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it again. So a lot of what we're talking about could be formulated into your custom GPT, and then you don't have to like add all this information every time you prompt. Is that what I'm saying?
Correct.
And you just simply give it a name and then you tag it in the regular Chat GPT, and it's smart enough to know that it should use that particular style. Is that right?
Once you've used it, it'll be saved in your Chat GPT as a past GPT that you've used. So
and
now
it can be private or public. Is that right? Private or public?
Yep. And so the one that I was mentioning earlier is private. Only my team can access it. There's 3 different settings. You can set it so that only you can see it. You can set it so that only people with a link can see it. So you could actually sell them. I know loads of people who sell them where they make them so it's only available to people who buy it. Those people could share it, but that's like a Google Doc, right? Like,
can you edit it too?
Yeah, you can edit it. So like Jeff Hunter created one back when they first came out and he gave it away for free as a test. And then he turned it off and said you had to pay. So You can turn it off midway through.
But you edit the data that's in it is what I'm asking?
You can.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
you can.
Very
so like
cool.
we add a new product, I just go in there and I edit it.
I know a lot of people are thanking me for going down that rabbit trail, so you're all welcome.
I mean, let's we're not really talking about this, but for example, we're working on launching a Shopify store with products that have like the sayings that we talk about banana phones a lot and how they're your direct line to the universe to call in future gratitudes, like really silly things, right? Normal. And so we're launching a bunch of products. And so I created a GPT called the Mug Maker, which designs custom mugs.
Very cool.
It's cool.
All right. So getting us back on track, we are talking about the acronym VOICE, which is first, what's your voice, which is your personality, your tone, and your language, followed by the O, which is the objective, right? What is it you want to achieve, right? Maybe building a community that leads to sales, which is what Molly wants. The third is I, which is insights. And that's where you feed it all sorts of fascinating information. Like, what are your benefits? What are the challenges of your community? What are the benefits? The biographies. Yep. Go ahead.
One other little thing on that, because I had mentioned there were two ways that you could use it. So one is like with the custom GPT, knowing everything about your business. The other, if we look at the more personal side of this, not on the business side, imagine if you were working on an IEP, report on how you could talk to a school about that, but you didn't tell the seasoned assistant, you didn't tell your AI a friend over here that your child is dyslexic and it thinks your child has OCD. It's going to be a totally different conversation that we're having. So those kind of insights about how we can support our kids, even, we want to be clearer in the information we're giving to the person who's actually going to help us communicate it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next letter in this acronym VOICE, which is the fourth letter, is the letter C. And what does C stand for in this case?
Okay. So the C in this is going to be how you arrange the composition of what you're writing. So a lot of people don't know that ChatGPT can actually write in more formats than just straight up text. It can write things in a table. It can write things in like a chart. It can create images. It can do all sorts of different types of composition. And even if you're looking at straight text, there's different ways that you can do this. Like when we write on Facebook, we suggest that you add a lot of space in between the paragraphs, right? So that's something that we can tell it, write this in a table with the headers XYZ. That would be the composition.
Real quick, what do you mean by space between the paragraphs? You mean short sentences? Is that really what you mean?
Yeah. So for a long time, we've really been clear that if you're writing a full paragraph, like you learned how to do in high school with 5 sentences in it, most people are not going to read all of those sentences.
Yeah.
So we pretty much put one sentence in a line. I actually prefer.
I do it that way too, by the way. For folks that read my stuff, it's all short paragraphs. I mean, it's so much easier to read. So much easier to read.
It really is. And I love to actually make mine kind of look like a painting, which I've had a hard time getting ChatGPT to do. So like if I'm listing several different sentences, I like to have the longest at the top and then have it get it smaller and smaller and smaller and then get back. It's like a song. I'm like, really composing in a whole different way, but I haven't really gotten into that yet.
So you're telling me that in this composition thing, obviously, first of all, a lot of people's minds were blown that it can output charts and tables. Some people's minds were blown that it can output images, but some of us have been around for a while know that it's ridiculously talented with images. But what about on the text side of this? Is there any is all this composition just is this just do you want text or do you want tables, or is there
no? Let me actually. I'm so glad you asked that, because you can actually create code. So I had it write the code, and I can like kind of understand what's happening in code. I can spot mistakes and I'm like Sesame Street level. Like I can see one of these things is not like the other, but I am definitely not able to write code by myself. So I wanted a sales calculator for our coaching program called Sales Stars. I wanted them to see if I reach out to this many people and get this many people to reply and I make this many offers, this will be my sales. So I asked ChatGPT, can you write the code for a widget on my website? That would be the composition, that it needs to be like an HTML or whatever.
Okay. On the tech side of composition, is there any special like ninja tips? Like, would you tell it write short paragraphs? Would you tell it to, maybe you're a scientist and you want it to use scientific language. I don't know. Is that the kind of stuff we're talking about here when we're talking about composition?
Yeah. And a lot of times if you say write a social media post, it'll give you 7 million emojis. I prefer not to have a bajillion emojis.
I see. Okay. Got it.
Things like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty straightforward, composition. And then the next letter is what? And what does it stand for?
Okay, so we're at composition. And then the final one here is going to be examples. The E is for examples. Now, at this point, you may think, you know what? I've given it all the information. It should be able to figure it out. But nothing beats being able to say, okay, this is the instruction. Hey, and do it just like this. Like, here's an example of how those instructions turn into this piece of text or this composition. Now, if I'm doing an image or I'm doing a graph or something, I may not always do that. But I will tell you, I was with Kenya at an event once, and I was showing her the image
Kenya
generator.
Kelly? Yeah,
Kenya Kelly. We were at a high level conference, and I showed her, I said, watch, I'm going to load a picture of you in here. She said she wanted to see herself speaking on bigger stages. And so I loaded a photo of her, and I created a prompt that said, I said, describe this woman to me. So I loaded it in, then it told me what she looked like. And then I said, great, put her on big stages with the crowd, cheering. And so it gave her this visualization of seeing herself on bigger stages. Then one of the images, I really loved the green jumpsuit that it put her in. So I downloaded that image. I loaded it into Google Images. I found the jumpsuit and I bought it.
Okay, so hold on a second. This examples thing. First of all, I love what you just, for those that maybe aren't tracking with everything Molly just said, she took a picture and she loaded it into the AI tool. Okay. And then she asked the AI to describe what the person was like that was in there. And then she used that description to do other stuff, which I think is really, really awesome. What other kinds of examples should we be putting into the system just so people can wrap their brain around this?
Yeah. So actually I pulled something up that I could read to you because I think this will be so helpful. So we base all of our content on what we call a tree of beliefs, that if we want to get someone to make a purchase, or we want to get someone to take any sort of action, even if it's like getting your kids to eat their vegetables, there are certain beliefs they have to have in order to say yes and move into action. So we use AI to create this tree of beliefs. Then we use those beliefs to follow what I call our super prompt. So when I'm doing this, I have the voice section here. It says act like a highly skilled YouTube creator. That's like the personality, blah, 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 all of that. When I get to the example piece, I say, Monday, you'll create a Barnum statement. Start the week off with a general yet profound statement that virtually anyone can find true about themselves. This should make the audience feel understood and intrigued, right? And then I'm going through all of these different types of posts, and then I share an actual Barnum statement. Like, for example, you're doing your best and we appreciate you. Something like that. Like, pat yourself on the back. You deserve a good job. That's like a Barnum statement, right?
Okay.
So I give examples for each of those. And then at the very end, I say, put it in a table. So I've given all those examples, right? And then it's going to give the table there. Now, when I give the table, it's hard for me to actually show the table itself. So that's where I just say, like, under the first header, it would be this. Under the second header, it would be this. So I give those different examples so it has something to base it on.
Got it. Okay. So, and I'm getting creative with you on the fly here, but I would imagine if you want to create a presentation, right? Because we're both presenters, you could give it a couple of slides or a PDF of a presentation, and you could say, here's an example of a presentation I've done that might inspire you. I don't know. I'm just like,
here's another really good example is for like engagement questions like we talked about earlier. I have 10 engagement questions that I know work really well for us. And so I'll say, write a list of engagement questions, put them in a table with the headers XYZ. Here are examples of the engagement questions I'd like to emulate.
Got it. So when we're coming up with examples, it sounds like we should try to find some examples of things that have worked for us in the past. Is that correct?
Yep.
And put that in there. Or things that
you've seen work for other people.
Yep.
Obviously be careful that you're not like full on ripping off people's content.
we're trying to train the model to have our voice, right? So it sounds like it should be examples from our opus of content that we have created so that it can model. So tie the whole thing together. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and here also, if you don't have an opus of content, this is a really great opportunity to actually write something, like create it once and then duplicate it. If you're trying to jump straight into the AI and you never know if it works as a human, it's going to be a lot harder to get results because you're skipping the piece that is actually the foundation here.
Well, and by the way, I don't even know if I used the word opus correctly, so no need for anybody to message me and say, "Hey, it's not opus; it's some other letter O thing." Like Molly, I am also dyslexic, so I also get my words mixed up a lot. So when we use this entire acronym, and when we gather all this information, when we figure out our voice, which includes our tone and personality, and when we figure out the objective, right? And then we figure out the insights, and then we figure out the composition, and we give examples. This is going to do what exactly? Is this going to greatly increase the chances that this sounds exactly like us?
Well, and it's going to be this huge ripple effect that not only sounds like you, your team can use it to sound like you, not only for you to use it, right? You can start creating automations based on this. So, and it doesn't mean that you won't need to come back and edit it and look at it, but it reduces the amount of time that it takes by, I mean, it's unmeasurable, I think. My team created this entire podcast based on questions from our community. We took questions from our community. My team member, Kevin, went in and said, answer these in Molly's voice. It did. And then we had an example of a podcast episode, little short 2-minute episodes. We said, write a podcast episode in exactly like this example. And we gave the objective, the call to action, all of that. And then he put them into a tool called 11 Labs and created actual audio based on all of this seasoning that we did.
And it sounded just like Molly.
Oh my gosh, it sounds just like me. It's so weird.
That is so cool. Yeah. Molly, I know that we're just scratching the surface of the stuff that you teach. If people want to connect with you on the socials, what's your preferred channel? And if they want to learn more about the awesome stuff that you've got, including your AI stuff that you're doing, where do you want to send everybody?
Yeah. So I really love Facebook, like my personal Facebook profile, which is Molly Mahoney. If you follow me on Instagram or YouTube, it's The Prepared Performer. And I'd actually really love to give everyone 2 full weeks of the Content Club, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it. How do they get it?
You'll get all of these prompts, so everything will make sense. We have a whole document on how to identify your brand voice. It'll make it super easy. Just copy, paste, put your human stuff in there. And all you have to do is go to molly.live/SME, like Social Media Examiner, SME.
That is so cool. Molly, thank you so much for coming on the show and answering my litany of questions. And I think I got the word litany correct. Thank you so much.
I'm just so grateful for you. Thank you for everything you do for our community. And just, you're the best. Thank you.